What's up, Niners faithful? The Bay is buzzing again, and there's a lot going on with our San Francisco 49ers as we get closer to another massive Sunday showdown. Now, let's dive right in because the news we got last night hit harder than a Fred Warner tackle. Bryce Huff, who's been one of the brightest sparks on this Niners defense all season, went down with a hamstring injury against the Atlanta Falcons. And the frustrating part? He didn't even look hurt during the game. He dominated, looked explosive off the edge, helped wreck Atlanta's protection, and then suddenly, boom. The next day, Kyle Shanahan tells us he's out for a couple of weeks. Classic Niners injury luck, right? It feels like every time someone steps up, the injury bug just won't quit. Bryce Huff has been nothing short of sensational this year. When you watch him play, you see that quick twitch, that ability to get off the line faster than almost anyone else in the league. Against the Falcons, he was part of a defensive front that racked up 22 pressures on Michael Penix Jr., constantly forcing him to move, panic, and make bad throws. Huff alone had 5 pressures and a sack in that game, and he's been doing that consistently. 19 total pressures for sacks, and one of the best overall grades among all defensive linemen. Losing that kind of production, especially when you're already without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, is brutal. Now, let's be real. At some point, even the most stacked roster reaches its breaking point. The Niners' depth has been tested year after year, but this is getting crazy. Without Bosa, without Warner, and now without Huff, the defensive line rotation is looking thin. You've got Mike Williams, Sam Okwonu, Travis Gibson, Robert Beal, and William Bradley King available. And while these guys can hold their own, it's a lot to ask when you're up against a hungry Houston Texans team that just got embarrassed on Monday night. San Francisco might need to make a move, and fast. If that means John Lynch has to pull the trigger and trade for a proven pass rusher, even if the price is steep, so be it. This defense is the backbone of the team, and without those elite players up front, the whole system starts to wobble. What makes Huff's absence sting even more is that the Texans' offensive line is a mess. This would have been another game where he could feast, where he could live in the backfield and keep constant pressure on C.J. Stroud. Now that responsibility shifts to guys like Okwonu, who actually had a solid outing against Atlanta with 5 pressures and a sack of his own. The young guys will have to show up big time. It's next man up, as always, but this time it feels heavier because of the timing. Speaking of stepping up, let's switch to the offensive side. Matt Hennessy came in for Jake Brendel on Sunday night after Brendel hurt his hamstring, and honestly, he looks sharp. Brendel's been serviceable, sure, but he's always struggled with stronger interior defenders pushing him back. Hennessy, on the other hand, brought some juice to that center spot. He's athletic, quick off the snap, and looked confident out there. And for a guy who didn't have the best stint with Atlanta because of injuries, it's great to see him get another shot in an offense that values movement and intelligence. He allowed 0 sacks, only 1 pressure in 20 pass blocking snaps, and looked like he belonged. Maybe, just maybe, the Niners have found something here, a small upgrade that could make a big difference in both pass protection and run blocking. Then there's Dominic Puni. Let's be honest, he's had a rough season. After a promising rookie campaign, year 2 hasn't been kind to him. Against Tampa Bay, he was getting bullied, giving up 6 pressures and looking lost. But against Atlanta, something clicked. The staff managed his knee better throughout the week, and the result was a sharper, more confident performance. He held his own, moved better laterally, and seemed to trust his body again. If this team wants to fix its protection issues, Puni getting back to form is key. The talent's there. It just needs consistency. Now, here's the thing that really caught my attention on Sunday night, and it might just be a turning point for this offense. For weeks, the Niners' running game has been unrecognizable. Kyle Shanahan's system is built on running the ball, setting up play action, and keeping defenses off balance. But through the first 5 weeks, the team ranked dead last in yards per carry and near the bottom in total rushing yards. That's unheard of for a Shanahan-led team. But against the Falcons, something changed. Instead of sticking to the same outside zone runs we've seen for years, Shanahan mixed it up. He called more power and gap concepts, runs that let the offensive line fire off the ball and attack defenders straight up instead of relying on finesse and zone movement. And the difference? Immediate. The The Niners averaged over 7 yards per carry on those power runs, and Christian McCaffrey looked like his old self again. Instead of waiting for lanes to develop, he hit holes fast, ran downhill, and punished tacklers. You could see the offense feeding off that energy. That adjustment might sound small, but it's massive in the grand scheme. When this run game works, it makes everything easier. It takes pressure off the quarterback, it opens up play action, and it forces defenses to respect every single motion and fake. Over the last few weeks, opposing teams had figured out the Niners' rhythm. They knew they could sit on the short passing game because the run wasn't a threat. But now, with this more physical approach, San Francisco has balance again. And when this offense is balanced, it's one of the hardest in the league to stop. Christian McCaffrey thrives when he can attack vertically instead of dancing laterally. You could tell he loved the shift. He was decisive, explosive, and clearly more comfortable with the blocking scheme. Even the offensive line looked energized by it. Guys like Colton McKivitz and Aaron Banks were driving defenders off the ball instead of just trying to shield them. You could feel that old Niners identity creeping back in. The tough, smash-mouth mentality that wears defenses down over 4 quarters. And you can't overlook how important this is for the quarterback. When the run game clicks, the passing windows open up. Defenses can't just drop into coverage or blitz every down. Suddenly, play action becomes lethal, and the timing routes that Shanahan loves to dial up actually have a chance to develop. The Falcons learned that the hard way. The offense finally had rhythm again, and for the first time all season, it felt like the Niners were dictating the tempo instead of reacting to what the defense gave them. All of this sets up a fascinating matchup against Houston. The Texans are coming off an ugly loss to Seattle, and their offensive line is banged up. Normally, this would be a perfect opportunity for Huff and the pass rush to dominate. But now it's about how the rest of the line responds. Can they generate pressure without their best edge rushers? Can the offense continue to build off that newfound balance? The answers to those questions could define the next few weeks for San Francisco. The truth is, the Niners are in survival mode right now. The injuries have piled up, the schedule doesn't get any easier, and every game from here on out matters. But that's the beauty of this team. They've been here before. They've faced adversity, they've lost stars, and somehow they keep finding ways to compete. It's the heart of this roster, the mentality that no matter who's out, someone will step in and fight. And as this team heads into another Sunday with so many question marks, that mindset might be what keeps their season alive. Heading into this Texans matchup, there's this mix of excitement and anxiety buzzing around the Niners fan base. Everyone knows that the roster is elite when healthy, but right now, it feels like the team is walking a tightrope. The defense that was once the most feared in the league has taken hit after hit, and now all eyes are on the depth pieces to see if they can carry the load. You look at guys like Sam Okwonu, Robert Beal, and Travis Gibson, players who might not have the household names but have a golden opportunity in front of them. This is the kind of stretch that defines whether you're just a backup or someone who can actually carve out a long-term role in this league. What makes this situation even more intense is the timing. The Texans, despite their recent struggles, are still one of those teams that can catch you slipping if you're not focused. C.J. Stroud has the arm talent to make you pay for even the smallest defensive mistake, and the Niners' secondary will have to be disciplined, especially without that consistent edge pressure they're used to getting. This is where the coaching really gets tested. Robert Saleh and the defensive staff have to get creative, whether that's dialing up more stunts, disguising pressures, or throwing different looks at Stroud to confuse him pre-snap. You can't just sit back and hope for Bosa to save the day this time. The good news is that the Niners have shown resilience before. Think back to last season when they lost key players mid-year, but still managed to find that next-man-up mentality. The defensive culture in San Francisco is built on physicality and intelligence. Every guy in that locker room knows what's expected of them. Even if the talent drop-off is real, the standard doesn't change. It's about executing your assignment, trusting your teammates, and keeping that communication tight. On offense, the story is a bit brighter. The shift in the run game philosophy seems to have breathed new life into the unit. Christian McCaffrey is clearly more comfortable running north and south, and it's also helping the offensive line find a rhythm. When the line is moving forward instead of side to side, it builds confidence. You can see it in the way they finish plays. More pancakes, more aggression, more attitude. That physical tone starts to carry over to the passing game, too. Play action looks more convincing. Defenders hesitate for just a split second, and that's all it takes for this offense to strike. Matt Hennessy's presence at center continues to be an intriguing storyline. The chemistry between a center and a quarterback is one of those underrated parts of football that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but makes a huge difference. Hennessy's athleticism allows him to pull and reach blocks that open up more design options for Shanahan. If he can keep this level of play, he might just solidify that spot permanently. And with Jake Brendel still rehabbing, Hennessy has the perfect chance to make his case. Another under-the-radar name who deserves credit is Elijah Mitchell. He hasn't had the spotlight much this season because of McCaffrey's dominance, but when called upon, he's delivered solid carries that keep the chains moving. Having a reliable RB2 who can spell McCaffrey and still run with authority is huge, especially when you're trying to reestablish the ground game. You can feel that Shanahan is starting to lean into a more physical identity again. Fewer trick plays, more straight-up, smash-mouth football. And that suits this roster perfectly. What this team can't afford, though, is another slow start. Against Atlanta, they finally came out firing, controlling the tempo from the opening drive. That's what has to continue. When the Niners dictate the pace early, everything opens up. The defense plays looser, the offense settles into rhythm, and the opposing team is the one chasing the game. Houston is the kind of team that feeds off momentum, so if the Niners can punch them in the mouth early, it might take the crowd out of it and let them control the game from start to finish. Now, let's be honest about the bigger picture here. San Francisco still has Super Bowl aspirations. This roster, even banged up, is too talented not to. But this stretch right here, these next few games without key defensive stars, could determine their playoff seeding and overall confidence heading into the winter. Every win counts. The NFC is competitive, and you can't afford to slip up against teams you're supposed to beat. Houston might look like an easier matchup on paper, but every NFL game is a battle, and the Niners know it better than anyone. The question is, who's going to step into that leadership void? Without Fred Warner's voice commanding the huddle and Nick Bosa's presence demanding double teams, someone else has to become the heartbeat. Maybe it's Tashawn Gibson or Dre Greenlaw. Maybe it's Arik Armstead reminding everyone that he's still one of the most reliable interior linemen in the league. Leadership is what separates contenders from pretenders when adversity hits. On the offensive side, the leadership role falls naturally to Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. Both have that competitive fire, that edge that can wake up a locker room. You saw it on the sidelines against Atlanta. McCaffrey pumping up teammates after a hard run, Deebo barking after breaking a tackle. That's what you want. The Niners don't need a speech. They need energy, and those two bring it every snap. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL world is buzzing with whispers that could shake the landscape of the league. Sources close to team insiders suggest that Miami Dolphins wide receiver Jaylen Waddle might be packing his bags and heading west to San Francisco, joining the 49ers in what could be one of the most talked about moves of the offseason. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the chatter around this potential deal is impossible to ignore. Waddle, known for his electric speed and game-changing agility, has been a cornerstone for the Dolphins since entering the league. Fans in Miami have grown accustomed to seeing him weave through defenses, making jaw-dropping catches and turning seemingly ordinary plays into highlight reels. Yet, despite his contributions, speculation about a new chapter in his career has been mounting, and San Francisco is emerging as a likely destination. The 49ers, under the guidance of their forward-thinking front office, have been quietly exploring ways to bolster their receiving core. If the rumors prove true, Waddle's arrival could provide a dynamic weapon for the team, complementing an already formidable offense. The pairing of Waddle's lightning-fast routes with the 49ers' versatile playbook could create nightmares for opposing defenses. League insiders are hinting that discussions between the two sides have been progressing rapidly, with some suggesting that only minor details stand between Waddle and his potential debut in Levi's Stadium. While fans wait for official confirmation, social media is already aflame with speculation. Dolphins supporters are expressing a mix of shock and disappointment, while 49ers faithful are dreaming of the explosive plays Waddle could bring to the Bay Area. Analysts are already dissecting potential formations and how Waddle could fit alongside San Francisco's current roster, debating how his style might shift the team's strategy in the upcoming season. Of course, in the world of NFL rumors, nothing is guaranteed until papers are signed. Yet the buzz around Jaylen Waddle leaving Miami for the 49ers is growing louder by the day, hinting at a move that could reshape not just two teams, but the entire landscape of the league. If the deal goes through, fans across the country might witness one of the most electrifying transitions in recent memory. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.